My name is Devendra Prakash Goel. I was born in Meerut, which is in UP province of India. I got my first part of my education was in Meerut. I did my high school in 1941. That time I was always little bit, you could say, on the top in my college and my, all my education. When I was 8 or 10 years old, Pandit Nehru visited Meerut, and I was very much interested in the work of Congress since that time. I used to attend the meetings of Congress, and after that I graduated from my high school in 1941. Father's name was Mr. Ram Sarup Goel, and my mother's name was Mrs. Chawli Goel. So my mother also was a little orthodox, but I always used to tell her that we got to bring the Harijans in our room. They should have a good bath, come in our room. We will give them education. With that education, they will be better off in life. They could be secretary and do something better. So that was my inclination from the very beginning. Then in 1936, when I was about 8-9 years old, Pandit Nehru visited Meerut. He was a very good speaker. Not only a speaker, he was talking from the depth of his heart what Indian civilization is, how we are oppressed with British people. So that thing touched my mind a great deal. And when I was in Lucknow Medical College, when Nehru came to Lucknow on many occasions, and at that one time we had an exhibition in our medical college, and I was in charge of one part or one portion of that exhibition. So Pandit Nehru came there, and I had opportunity to talk with him. Nehru, that great man of the century. Then the second thing was, also I was impressed always with the message of Mahatma Gandhi. So I was in Bombay about 1947. I was in Bombay. I attended the prayer meeting, but there was 500,000 people there. But by chance, I had the opportunity to sit in the front row. So you could see the glow on Mahatma Gandhi, to see that a great man, how he is. And that glow came to the depth of my heart, how I should work, that message Mahatma Gandhi is giving, how to work, that you see that Hindu Muslims are the same, and all that message, that whatever oppression is there, we should try to see not only oppression of the British people at that time, but our own oppression of the Harijans, how we should remove that oppression, how should we see that people are equal. That message of Mahatma Gandhi always was touching my heart. Second time Mahatma Gandhi I saw when he visited Delhi. At that time I saw him on the Delhi railway station, that he was coming, and there was hundreds of people, and many people were thinking at that time Mahatma Gandhi gave a little blessing to somebody, that he thought that because of the blessing that man who was dying is okay. So that was the feeling about Mahatma Gandhi at that time. And some of those things in our life, if we could bring something like that, that there are not leaders and politicians only. Pandit Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi were more than politicians. They were more than saints. They were more than men of the century. If we think about teaching, the world will be a place we could call heavenly place for all the people. So bring that people. You see, Mahatma Gandhi said once, okay, suppose you want to take revenge. Suppose somebody did damage to your eyes, and you do damage to the other eyes. It will go on, and the whole world will be blind. So what is the use of taking revenge again and again? Meaning is, bring them with you with love and human feeling. In 1945, I was admitted to the medical college in Lucknow, India. And even that time, I was one of the top students, in my BSc, I was top. So I wanted to see that this divide and rule policy of the British government, how could what we should do to see that Muslims and Hindus, especially because those were the two big groups in India, know that we are part of the same country. We should live together. We should create happiness in the country. We should know how to British leave India, and we are capable. They used to say that if we leave India, you cannot rule yourself. In my mind, it was from the very beginning that we could rule India, we could have a democracy, we could rule India the best way, and India will move ahead. This was in my mind. So what happened that in 1942, with Quit India movement, I was with the marching group of our students were shouting the India British government should quit India. At that time, some of the forces of the British government, some of them were Hindus, no doubt, that the soldiers and some of the military people, they were Hindu and they were Muslims, but they were still following the order of British government. So when we had this our march, they were shooting on our head and they wanted us to stop or we'll put into prison. They told us at that time that if you don't go backward and write that you will not do these things in future. Our message was to them, to our people in Meerut and other people in India, that we students will never quit until and unless the British government leaves India. And at that time I told them, rather than writing that we will not do these things in future, we will write that we will do every day, we will do these things in future. So they told us, okay, we don't want to keep you people in prison, you go ahead, because they cannot keep hundreds and hundreds of people in prison at that time. We knew that. So this was our fight for independence from the very beginning. 1945, when I came to Lucknow, still India was not independent at that time. So I thought at that time how to bring Hindus and Muslims together. Hindus and Muslims should always work together. And they should always feel that we are brothers and sisters of the same mother. This was our message. This was the message of Congress Party. This was the message of Mahatma Gandhi. This was the message of Pandit Nehru. This was the message of Subhash Chandra Bose. This was the message of Rabindranath Tagore. These were some of the messages which were telling us that we should be working together. Some of the Hindu Orthodox family, we want to tell them that all of us are created by God. We are part of humanity. We should understand how to work together. We should understand to create happiness in this life. We should create that if we understand that we just come here for a few years only in this world. In those few years, why to create rift between people, but create happiness. Leave this world after creating happiness. 1950, when I graduated and became a doctor in India, so I thought at that time that whether I should practice right away or I should wanted to be a surgeon, so I should wanted to go to London. But at that time, the Canadian government wanted to bring some Indian doctors here so that there is a little bit understanding of Indian doctors, how they are working, and some of the Canadian doctors, Canadian means European Canadian, they could go to India and see the hospitals in India. So they gave me an invitation at that time to come to Montreal. After getting that message, my parents told me that you are going to England, London anyway. Why not go for 2-3 years to Montreal and other parts of Canada? BabuKishan's Spotlight Canada, and see whether you like it there and get your training, surgical trainings there. So when I came to Montreal, at that time there were no Indians practically. First of all, there may be about half a dozen who came at that time, and most of them used to come, where I was told by other doctors, they used to come to Montreal because as laborers on the ships which were bringing cargo to Montreal. So they said that we are seeing first time Indian doctors and understanding little bit about message of India, what culture is all about, what Indian civilization is all about. So at that time, they invited in many groups, to tell about India, to lecture about India. And in one group, one of the doctors invited me. There were about 300-400 people, and I was told to for half an hour to talk about India. So we gave the message of India, what culture is all about, what civilization is all about, and what the message of our leaders is all about. We don't want that India should be independent only in name only. India has a message to give to the whole world, that to understand the old civilization of India, how the civilization turned around, how Indian civilization and Chinese lasted for 2000 years. After that, why there was some downfall of some of the in economic form. Why there was downfall? Because there was disunity. Because there was, after a society becomes prosperous, what are the problems the society faces at that time? Same problems came there, started Madhurapan, that means wine and all that. So that brought our civilization down to some extent. Then civilization came in Middle East, which is Fertile Crescent, where there are pyramids. It lasted there about 500 years. Then civilization, I was trying to give the message, how civilization travel around in the world. It came to Greece. And in Greece, there was Alexander the Great, Socrates, Aristotle, and they gave the message, and still it did not last more than 1,000 years. That message, because again with prosperity, downfall came because we start doing wrong things. Our morals come down at that time. So after that, Roman Empire came. And Roman Empire also lasted about 1500 years. And Roman Empire was also great empire at that time. And their message was good to the world, but it came down. Then some of these countries like France, Portugal, England, these Germany, they were becoming more industrialized. And even then, some of the navigators wanted to come to India at that time because India is still considered a great country with great culture. So they were coming around Africa, Cape of Good Hope, Vasco da Gama, Bartholomew Dias. These people were coming down to India around South Africa. But then Columbus came along and he heard from the scientists that the world is round. And he thought, I'll go straight and I'll come to India. And he came and he stuck. Actually, ships came to this land, North America. And in North America, he thought, I have come to India. He started calling them Indians. This was the reason they were called Indian. But he was wrong in one way, because he should have thought that India has more people. These few people here could not be Indians because he has not reached India. Whatever, that way, this land was fertile land. And some of the industrial knowledge, scientific knowledge of Europe came here, and very soon it grew. Very soon, like prosperity came here within 100 years. Especially after the Second World War, America became very prosperous, one of the top countries in the world in prosperity. But because prosperity came so fast, a spiritual message should all be there, that we should understand the meaning of morality. See, some of the problems we are seeing in society here. These problems we are seeing, that about many people are alcoholics. There is a drug problem here, violence in major cities of America. So some of these problems are coming here. We should understand how the cultures went up and down. So in this society, our message again the same thing. Have a good family system. Have a good family system. Have a good understanding of morality, so that civilization survives for a long period. Although I was invited by the government of Canada, but they usually invite here for 1 year. And after that, it's up to you whether you want to stay here longer. And if you want to stay here for your training, the remuneration you are getting is so low, about only $100 a month. And some hospital like Vancouver General was giving only $40 a month. And for these exams like FRCS or Masters, you had to work for 6, 7, 8 years before you could really you could appear in the exam. So for that, my 2 children were born, after I came here. Rakesh, who, as I mentioned, is a doctor now. He's a very senior doctor in Ottawa, and Alka. So with these 2 little children and getting $100 a day, and if you want to get the degree, you had to work 6 years at least in the hospital. So you had to sacrifice a lot, but still see that your children are brought up in a proper way. So that way, Mrs. Goel always told me, she was great in one way. She told me, don't worry about anything. Children will be okay. Everything will be okay. You just think about your education. Think about your training. think you want to be a good doctor, think you want to be a good surgeon. So this was the way. Because of her, I could really withstand some of the problems, earning $100, $125 a month for 8 years to achieve that result. Not only that, at that time, when you're living one room, it was very difficult in one room that if your child is crying, then there is a disturbance in the home. So it is very difficult to bring up your children. But in spite of that, she did her best to bring them in a way and give them a message. When I came to this residence I'm living now, my granddaughter was born here, and because I was very much interested in the philosophy of Lord Buddha, so on one of her birthday party, we established the statue of Lord Buddha here, and wanted to see that how in her life some of the work of Lord Buddha is inculcated in her life as she grows up. So that was one of the reasons that Lord Buddha statue was inaugurated in my garden here. So when I came to Vancouver in 1966, at that time there was no Hindu temple in Vancouver. And as I mentioned, that there was Gurudwara and there was one Hare Krishna temple. But still the message of Hindu religion, message of Indian culture, we wanted to give not just religious message, but message about our culture as a whole. That thing was missing here. Nobody knew what Diwali is all about. Nobody knew what Holi is all about. Raksha Bandhan, Dashera, these things. And they also, I wanted to understand that we do celebrate Christmas also. We celebrate all the festivals because we wanted to celebrate all the festivals of all the people, all the religious groups, India also. But this knowledge was not there. So at that, we started our Hindu temple and we got this building. And in this building, my message from the very beginning, I was the president in 1972 to 75. And also on advisory committee and all that, I was so much involved with the work of the Hindu temple. So my message was that the Hindu temple also, it's not just for religious purposes. This is a platform, education, younger people should work together. How should we show charitable thing in the society? How should we bring the message of actually not only Indian culture, but all general understanding that what India and Indian thinking and people, intellectuals of India, what it is all about. Again, I became president for 3 years after 1990. Then again, I was president here for 6 years now, for 7 years now as the president, because I was coming again and again. And even now, I am involved in the activities of our Vishwa Hindu Parishad. So with that understanding, we started first to celebrate our Diwali festival. With Diwali festival, there was fairly big attendance, 400-500 people from the very beginning. And also at that time, Mrs. Grace McCarthy, who was the deputy premier here, she was always with our functions. We always came there. The Premier Barrett, I'll show you the picture later on, that was with me, and with understanding when I told him in one of the Diwali function, we did a very big scale in PNE grounds in 1975. In that, there were about 2,000 people, because we got the message that we wanted to bring. And also we wanted not only of Indians should attend those Diwali function, but other groups also attend. My message was that because it's a multicultural society, in this multicultural society, we want to bring some other groups on our Diwali function also, in our Holi function also. So I established there at the same time Vishwa Hindu Parishad of Canada. And I was president of the western side. First of all, my message for our own people is that remain united, bring the message of your culture here and understanding about how people should live together. Create our leaders from our young children who should understand what the world should be, and they should understand that the greatest prayer to God is service to the humanity.